video and technical difficulties, the hurricane and microphone. We're going to redo the whole video. The frugivores are the primary dispersers of seeds for the propagation and growth of plants, such as birds like the cardinal, the blue jay, the deer, the tortoise, and the lizards. Now, birds are the main dispersers of seeds. The paper and putting verses between the regurgitation of seeds and the excretion of seeds through the vent of a bird is the verse between those two things, the comparison between the sugar and the lipid fruits. The regurgitation actually had a better chance at survival due to the lipids and fatty acids from the biliary composition it obtained from being regurgitated. Sugar fruits have a tendency to decompose quite readily. The bird digestive tract, the esophagus, the crop, the proventriculus, the gizzard, the small intestine, the large intestine, the cloaca, and the vent. Now, a bird has a very different digestive system than we do. It actually passes it back and forth from the gizzard and the stomach, basically exposing it to as many enzymes as possible. In the crop or stomach, it has this similar, the pepsinogen, and then of course the hydrochloric acid to roughen it up and keep it, and to digest it and absorb all of its nutrition or nutrients. The seeds that receive the lipids from, or the fatty acids from the biliary or the bile from regurgitation have a considerable level of strength due to lipids being much less susceptible to decomposition and even metabolism in some cases. They're metabolized, yet they're much sturdier molecules. Now, the nitrogen cycle for plant growth, of course, we have the ammonifying bacteria, the bacillus, the clostridium, the proteus, the streptomyces, and the enzymes that are involved in this are the GLN synthetase, the cytosolic and the plastid, the GLU-2-oxyglutarate, aminotransferase, ferredoxin, and the NADH dependent, as well as the GLU-dehydrogenase. Basically, what that's doing is it's just hydrogenating the nitrogen or nitrogenous organic compounds. They are reacting with the NO compounds, reacting with that, hydrogenating it and turning it into ammonia, histidine, the phenylalanine, the leucine, the valine, the lysine, the methionine, the isoleucine, the arginine, the threonine, and the tryptophan. These are primary primary amino acids in any creature that is omnivorous, herbivorous, frugivorous. You can trace it back to the eating of plants. It's one of the one of the aspects of the cycle itself. The bacteria, the ammonifying bacteria, will of course produce the ammonia needed for in the soil, but we also get from the fecal matter of, or the droppings of animals. There, in the revegetation of this particular brownfield, we also have an excessive quantity of deer carcasses due to hunters and people who just dispose of the deers and some the deer on the brownfield. In Kentucky, they compost deer carcasses for the nutrition or biomass from the deer, the humus, for phosphorus, nucleic acids, and things of that nature. The ammonia is extraordinarily important in the formation of nucleic acids, amino acids, and so on. The nitrifying bacteria, the Nitrosomonas, takes the ammonia from the ammonifying bacteria and produces nitrate compounds. The more complex reaction is going to be shown. Basically, the second one will make it a little more easily understood. It takes the ammonia, oxidizes it to the extent, dehydrogenates it, and forms hydroxylic in addition to water itself, and then forms just nitrate compounds, water. Now, the denitrifying process, the pseudomonas, it is a dehydration reaction. It hydrates or hydrogenates the nitrite and nitrate, forming water in addition to atmospheric nitrogen. It doesn't always completely produce just atmospheric nitrogen. It actually produces nitrous oxide, nitrous acid, and nitrous oxide, and of course, from hydration, it can produce nitrous acid, which brings me to an article from the Max Planck Gesellschaft, where it was studied why there was such a high concentration of nitrous oxide in heavy nitrogen soils, heavy concentration of nitrogen soils in agricultural fields. formation of nitrous acid from this nitrate and nitrogen accumulated from this this agricultural field, which was also shown to be a missing link in the nitrogen cycle. It also has the capacity to reduce the pollutants in the atmosphere. Now, the process that occurred in the revegetation of the Carbondale site was primarily in the minimal activity area. We were extraordinarily lucky due to the site being an abandoned cement plant. The calcium from the calcium carbonate helped in the production or the propagation and growth of the plants. The sulfur, magnesium, the basic nutrients for plant growth are, of course, organic compounds, nitrogenous compounds, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, sulfur. And the micronutrients are also in cement, the iron and silicon. We're quite lucky that we had this because it concentrated the soil for the propagation of with these macro and micronutrients for the propagation and for the plants. The sulfates, which are highly desired by plants because sulfur is necessary for the growth of plants. Even human beings need it. Animals, sulfur has a level of importance. The carbon dioxide that some things need, some bacteria, you get that from the calcium carbonate and formation of calcium hydroxide, the release of carbon dioxide, and of course the photosynthesis, it requires that. The fertilization of any brown field is very sensitive. If you don't do anything, nothing will happen. If you do something, it's a very, very thin line, because you don't want to make another brown field somewhere or put too many pollutants in the air for the formation of the brown field. The Mount Tabor revegetation is a considerably good example of not necessarily what not to do. It's putting an excessive level on aesthetics. It does, of course, address a problem of erosion and replanting plants, native plants, in the area. But plants become native by, of course, being there for an acceptable amount of time. Night crawlers are not plants, but they are not native to coats. They were brought over here in England from the English and cultivate the soil for the growth and propagation of plants. In Mount Tabor, they basically were showing pictures of the removal of non-indigenous or non-native plants, the English ivy and others. They actually showed pictures of a nice vegetated area and then a clear area. It is, of course, the purple area is the revegetation area, considerable level of acreage. It is a park. It's basically a park and a nice little area, but it is, of course, more geared toward aesthetics because you want the attendance of a park to be considerably high. Now, in New Jersey, the brick factory, revegetation of a brick factory Brownfield, it had a high level of alkalinity, a considerable level of alkalinity for plant growth. So what was done there in that particular project, they took for the magnesium compound, magnesite, I believe, they took indigenous or native plants that could grow in that area. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. If a plant won't grow in that area, it just won't grow. So revegetate it with plants that have the capacity to grow within that area. That's understandable. But in an aesthetic quality, it's not necessarily. It's just pretty to bring in people, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's seemingly not as effective or conducive to the environment. They had in Mount Tabor, the quantity of people used was considerably, I mean, not excessive, but according to the EPA, the human breath, of course, is considered pollution as well. Me talking about it is considered pollution. But the machinery used, the carbon emissions and the formation of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other pollutants for the aesthetic purposes and the aesthetic quality of an area is, in my mind, ludicrous. But with the brick factory, it can serve, it will serve an aesthetic purpose because the building is, a rundown building is quite ugly. But, well, not always, sometimes. But in the brick factory, it served both an aesthetic and an environmental purpose. There, in New Jersey, the purpose was primarily the amendment of that soil, a reduction of not necessarily pollutants, but an increase of amino acid formation, of vegetation for the soil to become a little more pliable to plant growth. Plant growth is quite important for the production of oxygen and erosion and things of that nature. But the purpose in the brick factory in New Jersey was primarily, if not completely, conducive to the environment. In the Mount Tabor, it is a park, therefore it is more aesthetic also has conducive qualities to the environment. Because if erosion were to occur in the Mount Tabor area, the park, you people can get hurt, things of that nature, which is not good. It has its place, but putting emphasis on aesthetics is not particularly the best idea. In the revegetation of the Carbondale site, we put an excessive amount of emphasis on minimal activity. We used about 2 to 3 people, usually 2, occasionally 3 people, for the revegetation of this site. Minimal human activity, for the reduction of pollutants and basically litter. Of course, pick up your trash, but sometimes things fall out of your pocket, and sometimes you just don't think. But if you are serious in this area, just eat somewhere else. Don't. But the emphasis on minimal activity reduces that activity. It reduces the carbon emissions by using less gasoline to get there, less basically carpooling, things of that nature, less cars, less machinery. A lot of it was done by hand, which was minimal at best as well. The revegetation, we planted seedlings, thousands of seedlings in the area by hand, of course, just like pretty much anyone. But the 2 people did this over a stretch of time. Only 2 people. And reducing the activity of people reduces the probability of excess carbon emissions. We rarely use machinery. The only real time we use machinery is to put up fencing to retain the site and contain the site for study. And only on a very short time frame. By reducing the activity and intensifying increasing the basic propagation of the plant growth, by reducing minimal activity, or increasing minimal activity, and you reduce the carbon emissions and basically human activity, which of course in any area will produce carbon emissions. And by increasing plant growth and propagating plant growth, we increase the nitrous acid, which according to a Max Planck article, it increases the capacity for the cleansing of pollutants in the air, and the nitrous acid is filtered out by the rain, and of course goes back into the soil for usage, and of course comes back up for back and forth cleansing of the air. By reducing minimal activity, by reducing activity humans in the particular brownfield area, using only a very small or minute amount of people, a very small amount of people, 5, 6 tops, and reducing machinery usage, of course, will intensify the cleanliness of the air, the pollutants in the air at the brownfield site. We don't necessarily want a brownfield somewhere else just to revegetate a brownfield in another area. The use of mulch is a very good form of humus or nutrients for plants. The river at the right next to the site, of course, helped in the propagation of plant life, allowing dispersion, hydration, and basic nutrition, as well as getting the soil back to its natural medium of acidity or pH scale, or a medium of pH scale for the growth of plants. By reducing the activity of people and by increasing the plant growth through that, we will increase the basically the propagation of plants. Plants in this particular area, we were lucky due to the macro and micronutrients given to cement. But the minimal approach allows the strength of the plants and the competition between the plants for the overall propagation. I've seen a lot of plants out there die due to the canopies of other plants. The cedar tree, the serviceberry, on the other hand, it's a very strong plant, or the Russian olive. But by giving only a slight push through minimal activity and mild attentiveness, growth will usually occur. In this case, it did. In 1990, the Carbondale site was nothing but a dust field. Everything around it was, of course, nothing but dust, lime dust, and of course soil itself. But by allowing nature to take its course and mild attentiveness, it grew into basically a jungle. It was quite beautiful. Ray Coffey, we of course planted some seedlings. He threw grass out to help propagation occur, but it was a minimal approach, minimal activity, very minimal activity. By allowing the minimal activity, propagation in this case, with, I don't want to, I can moderately comfortably say, in extension to others, it will, of course, work as well. Nature does tend to take care of itself, but with some help from man in certain areas. If man made the brownfield, which in this case man did, it needs a touch from man to, or a nudge from man and some level of help from man to propagate growth, plant growth. Plants are very, very, very capable of revegetating, but if man has made a particular area pretty much inhabitable by both bacteria and plants itself, minimal activity is to occur. Because if maximum activity does occur, we will of course have the exact same thing, a brown field. Maximum activity occurred and the formation of a brown field occurred due to the needs of man for the production aspects of the plant, the industrial plant. That's basically what maximum activity will ensue from maximum activity. The minimalist approach, the minimal activity approach, and the mild attentiveness, the occasional push, non-usage of commercial or phosphate fertilizers due to amendment and, of course, quality of groundwater, the plants will propagate. By giving the plants a chance to grow through minimal activity, they will definitely grow. Minimal activity will reduce carbon emissions as well as increase the plant propagation by traipsing on them or hurting their chances for survival. A stronger plant's chance for survival, and through the nitrogen or nitrogenous compounds from the soil, you will also get a cleansing effect from the nitrous acid formed in the soil. It will work both ways, reduce carbon emission and reduce pollutants of other pollutants formed in the air by man and otherwise. That is my time, and I will conclude with minimal activity reduces the CO2 emissions.